Coming up, the story of a rare hit song that went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 two different times, 1966 and then in 1987. That's not all, though. Two other versions were hits as well. In fact, the first time it hit #1 with a soaring, upbeat, hook-laden take, just a few months later, a totally different version from an explosive heavy rock group went to #6. It's one of the most played songs ever, and we have an all-star cast of the different versions coming up next to tell you the story on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you spent more on your car stereo than your actual car growing up, you're going to dig this channel. Make sure that you subscribe below right now to be a part of this music community. Click the bell so that you always know when our latest stories and interviews are coming out. We also have a Patreon you're going to want to check out for more content that helps us keep it a daily channel. So it's time for another edition of our series, Revelations, where featured artists give us exclusive behind-the-scenes experiences about their biggest songs, their biggest albums. It's insight you really won't find anywhere else. Today, we have something really special for you, really excited about it. We have two Rock and Roll Hall of Famers and one of the greatest drummers ever to tell us the story behind a classic song that's been a top 10 hit 4 different times from 4 different acts. Only 6 songs have reached the #1 spot on the Hot 100 twice by 2 different musical acts. And this one nearly did it 4 times in 4 different genres. Soul, Motown, hard rock, 80s pop, and dance. You Keep Me Hanging On, written by the crack shot team of Holland Dozier Holland, was a #1 hit for the Supremes in 1966. You just keep me hanging on. But then hard rock band Vanilla Fudge took it to #6 with a heart-wrenching, hard-hitting version that blew many people's minds. And then Kim Wilde took it to #1 again in 1987. And then Reba McEntire took it to #2 in the Hot Dance Club Play chart. Up next, we have one of the greatest of all time, Lamont Dozier, who co-wrote and co-produced it. The late Mary Wilson, who was the longest reigning member of the Supremes, and Carmine Appice, who was the drummer for Vanilla Fudge. He also played with Rod Stewart, Ozzy Osbourne, and King Cobra, just to name a few. Appice has influenced scores of drummers, including the great Neil Peart of Rush, Joey Kramer of Aerosmith, John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, Roger Taylor of Queen, Phil Collins, Tommy Lee of Motley Crue, just to name a few. This guy was influential. Everybody loved him. Vanilla Fudge was said to be the link between psychedelia and heavy metal, and their 1967 remake of this Supremes hit pretty much became the definitive version, even though it was 5 notches below the Supremes on the charts. Set me free, and even though this song is slowed down, it absolutely rocks. It's hard-hitting, emotionally draining, and heart-wrenching from beginning to end. I mean, no wonder so many TV shows and movies have used it. It's just absolutely cinematic. I mean, seriously, this is a headphone song if there ever was one. You gotta hear You Keep Me Hanging On by Vanilla Fudge right after this. Although the Supremes version is amazing. It's classic Motown. You know, it followed up another classic by this legendary girl group, You Can't Hurry Love. Another one that was masterfully covered in the 80s by Phil Collins. The Morse code guitar part is epic, and Diana Ross's multi-tracked vocals makes this a standout of the 60s. I mean, the Beatles and the Beach Boys were said to have been taken aback by the production in a time where everybody was pushing music to revolutionary levels. Man, I am so excited for you to see this as we go into this interview about You Keep Me Hanging On with all these great guests. I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the only choice for glasses for me. Should be for you too. With Zenni, it's very simple, very simple. You need or want a new pair of glasses, you just go to Zenni.com, you design your frames by size, shape, color, and then you add great additional features like blue blocks for anti-fog, anti-glare. I mean, you can even see how you look before you buy. Just put in your prescription, your address, and they deliver them right to your door. Check it out today at Zenni.com. Here is Lamont Dozier, Mary Wilson, and Carmine Appice. Stay tuned for a tribute to the great Lamont Dozier, who recently passed away right after this story. Well, Carmine, you literally wrote the book on rock drumming. I mean, you got 1972 text, The Realistic Rock Drum Method. It's been a staple, influencing everybody from John Bonham to Phil Collins, Roger Taylor, Tommy Lee, Neil Peart. I want to ask you about Vanilla Fudge, one of the American links between psychedelia and soon what would become heavy metal, and influenced a lot of bands that came out after, like The Nice. And Deep Purple. Styx. And Yes.
I'll be the roundabout, the words will...
And Zeppelin. Just wanted to ask you about You Keep Me Hanging On. It's interesting because over the years I have Lamont Dozier's take on writing the song. I'll say it, man, Vanilla Fudge has the best version of that song because you took a song that was happy and fun and happy-go-lucky, but really dark lyrics, heart-wrenching, and you guys brought that out because slowing that down, went to number 6 in the U.S., number 2 in Canada. Tell me about that song and how it came together.
Well, I mean, we were doing that with a lot of songs in the day. We did with Eleanor Rigby, People Get Ready. We tried to match the lyrics to the mood of the music, you know. And Long Island was a fad by the Vagrants that had Leslie West in it. Of doing production numbers. So the production numbers were pretty much extended versions, slowed down versions, hurting versions, as we say. And You Keep Me Hanging On, Mark and Tim Bogert were listening to it on one time on the radio. And it was like, you know, a happy groove, as you said, you know, set me free, why don't, you know, but the lyrics were really hurting lyrics.
Set me free, why don't you, babe? Let me be.
So they said, man, we should slow this down and really put some emotion in it. And that's what we ended up doing.
Set me free, why don't you, babe? You just keep me hanging on. Ooh.
Well, You Keep Me Hanging On, which the original title is Payback. And you already talked a little bit about that, but you talked about how it was kind of a conscious attempt to write a rock record. Mm-hmm. That radio sound effect, that kind of Morse code.
Yeah,
like, you came up with that. Tell me about that.
That was basically once we got the sound and the feeling, and the guitars that we wanted. And I saw Walter Winchell on TV doing that Morse, did like that old telegraph. Good morning, Mr. America. And I said, and I was sitting there just watching TV, looking, and he kept doing it. And I looked, and all of a sudden I heard the guitars in my mind, you know.
Set me free, why don't you, babe? Get out my life.
Set me free, why don't you? You know what I mean? And so, and that's what we did. We tried it in the studio the next day or a couple of days later when we got the music, the chords and things down. And and then tried that sound again. And had it going, weaving on through the song, and it worked, you know.
That first part, that Morse code guitar part, that stuttering guitar part, that's where you guys even upped it even more and talking about complex musical arrangements. What do you remember about recording You Keep Me Hanging On?
You Keep Me Hanging On was one of those songs where we were totally into the music that we were recording now. You know, unlike in the very early days when we had to accept whatever the guys were bringing us, and we didn't know what it was about or didn't really care. We wanted things that meant something to us. Now, later, these songs that Holland Dozier Holland were bringing to us were songs that meant something because we're having boyfriends, you know what I mean, and all these kind of things. So the subject matter was very good for us, and enjoyed singing that very much because we were totally into the music. The tracks on that was great. The lyrics was great to sing. The melodies were wonderful. So all of that, now we're like totally into the music.
Set me free, why don't you, babe?
That's kind of a dark song too.
Well, you can take that way. Take it that way, but what you have is the lyrics saying one thing, but the rhythm is saying another.
Oh, I know.
It's like happy, happy, happy. And you can be talking about, we broke up, but Yeah, that happened a lot. And that's what made their HDH music so wonderful, was because you did have that duality in terms of the lyrics and the tracks being totally different being a contrast.
When seeing you only breaks my heart again.
Instead of them making a tragic song, oh, you can't, that kind of thing.
Right.
It was like, hey, you can't, you're aggressive on it. And for us, that was, I think it was really good for us. Because even when I sing them now, that's why I sing them very aggressively, not as a negative thing.
Well, the part where Diana says, there ain't nothing I can do about it.
Yes.
You guys actually come in on the lead after that part. I love how you did that.
And there ain't nothing I can do about it.
I have to say that's all the Holland Dozier Holland and how they produced it. That's why I loved working with them, because they had a wonderful sort of way of knowing how to switch things around and just make it, put it right out front.
Grab you by the throat.
Yeah, and they were very talented in that
And
way.
that broken tambourine part, it was kind of similar to Reach Out, I'll Be There, which was recorded about in the same year, the dun 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 dun.
Well,
really
HDH recorded for the Four Tops.
Oh,
What can you
yeah.
expect, right?
Right. Well,
Although I would have loved their song too.
well, what did you think a couple years later when you heard Vanilla Fudges?
Loved it.
Oh,
Loved
man.
it. That's
Doesn't
when
that just blow your mind?
Yeah, well, that was the start of that. What do they call it?
Psychedelic.
Psychedelic. Yeah, that was coming in now in a big way, and they did that song. It went to #1, didn't it?
It went to top 5. That's the
Top
only
5.
song in history has had 3 different versions go to the top 10.
Yeah, I know.
The drums in that, the way it starts, the harmonies, the way you guys do the harmonies are just...
We were soulful singers, all of us. We all sang. My brother Frank had a vocal group. They used to come and they would sing this famous song called Mine, Mine, Please Be Mine. So I've been singing all my life. I used to sing doo-wop in the subways and all that stuff. So, and everyone in Vanilla Fudge was a good singer, and that's what made us different than all the other bands of Long Island at the time. And you had Leslie West in Vagrant. You had Billy Joel was in the Hassles. You had other people like The Illusion made it from there, and Richard Super, who was in the Rich Kids, he went on to write great songs. But we had the best vocals and the best instrumentation players in our band, and that's one of the reasons why I think we made it first. Tell you the truth, I don't even remember arranging it. It's been so long ago. Who came up with the ideas and, but I remember the first couple of times we played it in a club when we played other songs and people would like dance. But when we played that song, everyone would come up to the front of the stage and watch us. So that gave us an idea that this song was something special,
The single version is 3 minutes long, but the album version is 7 minutes and 20 seconds.
And it was done in mono, one take mono. We recorded that. I said 7.5 minutes to change my life. I think we even did the vocals live, if I remember right.
the fact that it's been used so much in pop culture because it's such a cinematic song, and on the season finale or the series finale of The Sopranos.
Well, I thought it was great, but since we did those songs with the long arrangements, our music was the intros, and the outro. The song was in the middle, so we sort of got screwed out of songwriting credit, because they played like they did in The Sopranos 3 times. 2 of the 3 times was our music, and now in the latest Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the music supervisor actually paid us extra for the intro. She thought the intro was allusions to my childhood. Which was the beginning of the song before we went into the intro. But now we've just registered the whole arrangement with ASCAP. And that wouldn't take me for a little while because, you can get paid for arrangements too.
That's what makes it so cinematic is the way that you guys did the intro and outro. Of course, Mad Men as well, man. That scene in Mad Men where they use it was incredible.
Set me free,
And of course, War Dogs.
set me free, you
It makes that scene.
That's right, it was in War Dog. I forgot all the movies it was in.
Did you see that they used it on Mad Men?
No, I didn't see that.
So they used it on Mad Men, and it's a really poignant, one of maybe the top 10 moments in that TV show. And it's just amazing. You'll have to look it up on YouTube.
They've used so much of that stuff, that HDH stuff, on movies. I haven't seen them all. But I've seen a lot of them, and it's just.
Well, give me your email address. I'll send them to you so you can look at them. Vanilla Fudge, of course, takes it a year later, even showing the power of that song to number 6, and they kind of had a slower, darker version
Theirs was slower,
of it.
yes.
I mean, the Vanilla Fudge, it just brought out kind of the horror of the lyrics, man. The angst, and because the Supremes version is great, no question. But
they had a totally different approach, which made it their own. They made it their own, and they also just creatively, I thought it was just fabulous. What they did to.
I think Sinatra should have covered it after that. Keep me hanging on, something like that,
Right.
But then Kim Wilde hit number 1,
Yeah, she did.
in the 80s. And then Kim Wilde, decades later, takes it to number 1 again. And that's the only 6 songs have done that, where they've been number 1 twice by 2 different artists.
That song has hit their spot quite a few times.
But the beauty of a great producing team is that the song is so solid.
Mm-hmm.
It's so solid. In fact, I think a lot of times what happens with the songs that Holland Dozier Holland wrote, produced, they were so brilliant that a lot of recording artists cannot come behind them and sing them.
Sure.
Now, like Kim Wilde, when she came up with her, they were able to capture it and do it and make it their own. I have some songs that Holland Dozier Holland produced for us that a lot of bands can't even play them.
No.
They just can't play because the music is not music, but the way that Holland and Dozier builds and puts things in there, people don't know what it is. They can't get it.
And all the different instruments and different things they brought to it,
they had
for sure.
3 guitars. I think on that particular song, there were 3 guitars. So you got the rhythm, you got the melody, and then you got somebody else just doing shank, shank. You got shank, shank.
Morse code stuttering thing,
Yes.
like nobody had ever
Yes.
heard something like that on a pop song
Yes,
before.
well, that was all the Funk Brothers.
Oh yeah.
They brought their own individual things. And that was what was great about the Funk Brothers. They came from a background in blues and jazz, And so then when they came to Motown, of course, they're doing this rock and roll. So they were bringing their influences of the jazz and the blues into the rock and roll. Holland Dozier Holland, Smokey Robinson, all the other producers, you know, they were learning from the Funk Brothers style and putting it into theirs. So that made a whole new type of music. It was, hey, the Motown sound, right?
Well, and Aretha covered it. Have you heard her version?
No, I don't.
Oh,
think
man.
You keep me hanging on.
Reba McEntire covered it, and it went to number 2 on the dance charts.
You just keep me hanging on.
They didn't release it on the country charts. It went to number 2 on the dance charts.
Wow.
Just incredible.
Fantastic. And I hadn't heard that too.
Well, Aretha covered it, and then Reba McEntire covers it and takes it to number 2 on the dance charts years later. That's just interesting.
No, you know what it does? It shows that everybody listens to Motown.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Right?
Set me free.
We actually recorded this a couple of weeks ago. Coincidentally, we plan to release it today of all days. As many of you know, we just lost legendary writer, producer Lamont Dozier, who you just saw in this mini documentary. Lamont Dozier was part of the legendary Holland Dozier Holland team that wrote, arranged, and produced most of Motown's biggest hits, including most of the classics from the Four Tops, the Supremes, and Martha and the Vandellas, among others. Lamont Dozier was a no doubt about a legend who, along with his partners, the Holland brothers, wrote the most number 1 hits in the 1960s, outside of only the Beatles. Lamont Dozier wrote or co-wrote 14 number 1 hits in all, including a number 1 hit in the 80s with Phil Collins, Two Hearts. I was extremely fortunate to do an epic, almost 4-hour interview session with Lamont Dozier some years back. Covered all of his hits. It's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. We hit it off, and I found Lamont to be so kind. He's funny, witty, he was articulate, passionate, most of all humble. He shared some amazing stories of creating these songs and working with other legends and setting the blueprint for Motown. And I'll be sharing parts of this interview as we continue to celebrate his artistry. It's why we do what we do, to honor these incredible legends. Rest in peace, my friend.